product rule. Let's have an example on the product rule. Of course, the constant, nothing different in that. You have f of x or y equals 1. What's the f prime of x or what's the y prime? This case 0, whatever that constant is. And if you have constant multiplied by a function like y equals c of x, what is the y prime of that? It is c multiplied by the derivative of x, which is 1. Okay, let's go to what is a little more complicated. So we have a product rule. You have y equal x to the power of 3 multiplied by sine of x. What is the y prime? In this case, you can identify it's a product rule by seeing two functions multiplied by each other. Then the derivative will be, you can't go and derive the x cube and put it down, then derive the sine of x and put it down. You need to follow the rule. What was the rule? Let's go back to the rule. The rule is saying, for the product rule, you take the derivative of the first multiplied by the second plus the derivative of the second multiplied by the first. As easy as that. So, the derivative of the first, which is x cubed, we learned that if you have x cubed, it is 3 multiplied by x. Remember, x to the power of n. What is the derivative of that? It is n multiplied by x to the power of n minus 1. That's 3 multiplied by x to the power of 3 minus 1, which is x squared. 3x squared. So the derivative of the first multiplied by the second is sine x. So the derivative of the first, 3x squared, multiplied by the second as it is, plus, so this is one portion of the solution, plus the derivative of the second. What is the derivative of sine of x? We learned a few seconds ago that it is cosine of x. You will have that table handy beside you whenever needed. Multiplied by the first as it is. The first is x cubed and the derivative of the second is cosine of x. So your final solution for the y function derivative in this case equals 3x squared multiplied by sine of x plus x cubed multiplied by cosine of x. As easy as that. Now, if we have the same concept, but it's good to repeat, y equal x squared multiplied by sine of x. What you're gonna do in this case? Y prime equals the derivative of the first multiplied by the second. In this case, he put it here. The author put the solution here. It doesn't matter. You can put it the way you want. So I can say the derivative of the first, so x squared prime, in this case, multiplied by sine of x, plus the derivative of the second, which is sine of x, in this case, you can give it a prime, multiplied by the second as it is. What that give you? The derivative of x to the power of n equals n to the power of x minus 1. N in this case is 2, so 2x to the power of 1, which is 2x. We don't write the 1. Multiplied by sine of x plus derivative of sine of x is cosine of x multiplied by x squared, and that's your solution. Let's move on. Let's say you have a function that's written this way. F of x equals 2x multiplied by x squared plus 3x. I don't prefer to take those as a product example because there is a way around it. Remember this rule? You have x to the power of n. If you need to take the prime for that, equals n multiplied by x to the power of n minus 1. Keep that in mind, we will come back to it. So what he's doing here, he's considering, the author is considering 2x is one function and x squared plus 3x is the second function. Then what he did, he took the derivative of the first here, multiplied by the second as it is, plus the derivative of the second, x squared plus 3x equals, as a derivative, 2x plus 3, multiplied by the first as it is. But me, I'm saying you can always go to an easier route just distribute the 2 of x over here and over here to the parentheses. 2x multiplied by x squared, that's 2x cubed, plus 2x multiplied by 3x, that's 6x squared. Now take the derivative for that. What is the derivative? So that's f of x. What is the f prime of x of that? That can be done using this derivative equation. So you have x to the power of n, so you have 2 as a constant, keep it as it is, multiplied by x to the power of 3, that's 3x to the power of 3 minus 1, which is x to the power 2, plus, second one, same thing, you have a constant, keep it as it is, multiplied by x squared, that's 2x to the power of 1. And your final solution will be 2 by 3, 6x squared, plus 6 by 2 is 12 multiplied by x. And that's exactly the same as this solution. So I see this route easier. You don't need to go with this functions, complications, and whatsoever. Okay, now we jump into division rule. You have two functions divided above each other. You have the sine of x as a function divided by the x to the power of 4. What you do based on the equation? So you take the derivative of the first multiplied derivative of the top multiplied by the bottom. So derivative of numerator multiplied by denominator minus the derivative of the denominator multiplied by numerator as it is. So sine x prime, which is the derivative of numerator, by the denominator as it is, minus the denominator prime multiplied by the numerator as it is over the denominator squared. If you simplify that, it will give you x multiplied by cosine of x minus 4 sine of x over x to the power of 5. As easy as that. Now, the chain rule. Chain rule, you have a function inside a function that need to have a derivative, which is ridiculous, as I told you. But you face that kind of problems through your mathematics journey. So you have h of x equals 2x plus 5 to the power of 3. Now, inside the power over here, that we can call as a g of x. While over here, to the power of 3, we can call it as f of x. So you can see h of x equals this. You can imagine it as g of x to the power of 3. So this expression 2x plus 5 can be g of x, and f of g of x, that's g of x to the power of 3. What you do to get the f prime, so basically you imagine it as x to the power of 3, so you take the power and like n multiplied by x to the power, so you can imagine this as x cubed. Then how you do the derivative for x cubed? That's 3 multiplied by x to the power squared. But instead of x here, we have g of x. We have g of x. So what you have in this case? You have 3 multiplied by 2x plus 5 squared. By, based on the equation, so you need to have the f prime multiplied by the g prime of x. So that's the f prime. Then that would be multiplied by g prime. What is the derivative of whatever inside the parentheses? 2x plus 5, that's 2. 5 is a constant, he will die by derivative. And you have 2x. In this case, 2x will be derived as 2. So we have 2 here. Okay, what's your final solution? You have 3 by 2x. So that's 3 by 2x plus 5 to the power of 2 multiplied by 2. That give you, if you want to have more simplification, 6 multiplied by the parentheses of 2x plus 5 squared, and that's your final solution. I hope that's clear. It's fine to be confused a little bit at first, but all breaks down to the simplest form of rules. The rule of constants, you'll use it a lot. Then you have the rule of x to the power of n derivation, and you have the rule of production and division, or multiplication and division. And as easy as that, just watch out for the powers, make sure you didn't miss out on a certain part of the rule, and do final simplification, and you will be able to solve any problem, doesn't matter how big or small it is. Let's take another chain rule in trigonometry form. As I told you, d over dx means this is saying that f of x equals sine x to the power of 5. What is the f prime of x? That's exactly what he's saying here, but it's a better abbreviated way just to make things simpler. Now, in this case, we can imagine sine of x as a function, like let's assume it's like x to the power of 5. It will be a power rule, right? X to the power of n equals n to the power of x, n multiplied by x to the power of n minus 1. So you can imagine f of x, I mean sine of x, if we say u equals sine of x, then it's like you're saying here u to the power of 5. What is the derivative for that? That's 5 multiplied by u to the power of 5 minus 1, which is 5 multiplied by sine the x to the power of 5 minus 1, which is to the power of 4, multiplied by the derivative of the sine of x function himself, or the u in this case. So multiplied, sine of x derivative is cosine of x. So your final solution would be 5 sine of x to the power of 4 multiplied by cosine of x. If you see this dot, by the way, that means multiplication. If you see me writing this, I mean multiplication as well. Now, the derivative rule summary, you can take a screenshot of that. You can save it wherever you want it to be, so you can come back to it whenever needed. I thought it is helpful. It's not done by me, done by the online community. So you have here the function, you have the derivative. You can see if you have a constant, what's the derivative? If you have a line, what's the derivative? Either x, what does the derivative means, and a of x, what is the derivative in this case? Then you have a square, square root, and so on. You have the trigonometry, inverse trigonometry, and you have for multiplication by a constant, sum rules, difference rules, product rules, quotient rules, which is the division. Even there's more rules than what we discussed here that could be advanced, but keep those two tables handy, or use whatever tables you can put your hand on in a textbook or whatever, and use it. All are telling the same language.